Hey there, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about two muscles that are really interesting, and in some circumstances, they could be causing neck pain, headaches, and even toothache. Yes, I said it, toothache. Most of the time, people don't actually realize there are several nerve branches that kind of go around the this region of the head, and a lot of them are bundled up around here, like around the jaw. For a lot of people, it's actually really unlikely to get toothache due to like muscle tightness or stuff like that. But in this video, I want to talk about how that can be a factor as well. Now, this is how the video is going to go. First of all, obviously, I'm going to go through the anatomy of these two muscles. So I'm going to take you through my 3D anatomy software. I'm going to break them both down. I'll show you where they are, what they do, and obviously talk about the neurological aspect as well, which is really important. And finally, we're going to talk about exercises, because we can't really not do that, because most people out there have no idea how to train muscles in the neck. Obviously, you've seen boxers and wrestlers do that, but they've probably you've probably seen like extreme versions of neck training, which isn't really suitable for most people. But for those of you who are looking to strengthen the neck, you're going to learn how, and you're going to also learn why you should be strengthening the neck, because sometimes people neglect the fact that the neck is also made of muscles, and if you're constantly stretching these muscles, you're not really making them any looser than they already are, because they could require actually strength more than flexibility. And if you are really interested in learning more about the neck, then definitely stay until the end of the video where we are going to look at those exercises. But first, let's have a look at the anatomy. And what you can see straight away here is the first muscle that we're going to talk about. Now, I realize that up until now, I haven't really named these muscles. And this is the first time that I'm going to actually pronounce their names. And the first one is a little bit difficult to pronounce for some people that have never heard of it before. And that is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, okay? So we've got two heads. And as you can see, I've selected both of them there. I'm going to fade everything around it so you can see its kind of attachment points. And one of the interesting attachment points here, you've got the skull. So this muscle directly attaches onto the back of the skull here, which is really interesting. And this is where a lot of the headache and even migraine similar symptoms can present themselves. And I wanted to kind of also add some pain points here where a lot of people would feel the actual pain. So it will be kind of here along the length of this muscle, and even going down like towards the kind of the clavicle here as well, like maybe even towards the sternum, because you've got attachment points there. Now, because we've got these kind of muscles attaching onto the skull here, you could also feel pain up here around the kind of the temple even area. You can also feel pain around the eyebrows and underneath the eye. You can see the red bits highlighted there. I'm also going to fade everything around the muscle now so you can see it a bit better. This is where a lot of people will feel symptoms related to this muscle, okay? Now, there are obviously multiple muscles that connect into this region, but the SCM, for short, is a unique muscle because it really kind of has this connection between the sternum, the clavicle, and the skull itself. Now that we've covered the SCM, it's time to move on to the second muscle group, because now we've got three different muscles that we're going to cover, but they are a part of the same group. For those of you who have never really looked at this region with a lot of detail, it will be hard for you to actually spot where these muscles are. But obviously for the trained eye, they're pretty easy to spot. Now, you've got a little kind of space between the SCM and the traps here. So literally like this space here. And that's where you can see like the muscles that we're going to be talking about. So first of all, I'm going to select the middle scalene. And again, the first time I'm mentioning this muscle is essentially the scalene group. We've got three muscles. So you've got the middle scalene here. You've got the anterior scalene, which is essentially this that I've selected now. So let's kind of zoom in a little bit. And let's select the other ones. So we've got the anterior, you've got the middle, and we've got the posterior scalene right there. So literally like these three kind of strings of tissue are the scalenes, and these muscles tend to create a lot of tension around the neck. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's first of all fade everything around them. Now you can see that these muscles are a little bit different because in comparison to the SCM, they have different connection points. So the SCM connects to the skull, but the actual scalenes connect onto the vertebra, so the cervical vertebra, and they also connect onto the first and second ribs. So the anterior and the middle scalene connect onto the first rib, and the posterior scalene connects onto the second rib, which is interesting because they have a role when it comes to inhaling. So essentially kind of when you inhale, when the rib cage goes up, they're contracting, right? And when you exhale, the rib cage goes down, they are essentially loading or they're essentially stretching. Okay, so in the beginning of the video, I talked about how like you can feel pain, you know, around the eyes, around the kind of this area of the head here, even around the forehead and top of the head. Now, what I've added there are all these kind of little nerve branches that are kind of, you know, some of them are a part of the cranial nerves, like the facial nerve or the trigeminal nerve. And these are all nerves that essentially, especially the facial nerve, nerves that supply the muscles of the face, and also the trigeminal nerve supplies some of the tissue in the teeth, like here in the mouth. So this is where a lot of the toothache could be coming from, and when it comes to symptoms, where the trigeminal nerve is essentially compressed, potentially by tension, in any of these kind of regions here. Now there is a muscle here called the masseter, which is the muscle that you essentially you perform something called mastication, which is like chewing, you know, like moving the jaw up and down. It could also house trigger points. When you press on it, it could spread into the mouth as well, like just like you would imagine spreading like these branches here. This is, you can see how they spread like branches of a tree. The pain will spread based on their position. And that's it for the anatomical aspect of this video. In the following section, I'm going to cover 4 different exercises that you can see all on the screen, first of all. Now, these exercises are going to focus on activating the muscles around the neck. Obviously, as probably some of you know, it's very hard for us to isolate the SCM and the scalene muscles. So we are going to look at them as part of a chain, as the whole system essentially that supports the skull, okay? Now, the first exercise is working on the muscles on the back of the neck. So we're mainly looking at, you know, some of the scalenes that support, like the posterior scalene and the medial scalene that kind of support the neck. But to be honest, the main kind of primary mover in this movement would be the suboccipital muscles, the splenius capitis, the traps, all the muscles that are helping, you know, with support on the back of the neck. The second exercise is going to directly target the SCM and the scalene muscles. The same goes for the second version of this exercise, where you're doing sagittal flexion and you're kind of moving the head down and up. So these are 2 very, you know, similar exercises that you can very easily use to make your neck stronger over time. Now, the final exercise is a little bit harder for you to get your kind of, you know, head around for most people, I guess. But I really like working on kind of opposite rotation when it comes to the thoracic spine and the cervical spine. Now, here we're looking at the muscles of the neck working as a system against the muscles of the kind of thoracic spine, like for example the obliques that are rotating the rib cage here. Obviously you got your traps working because your arms are in front of you under load, but the whole point is coordination, or something called proprioception. So you are getting used to really you know, working the head in one direction under load and the arms in a different angle and movements, again under load. So I think this is a really good exercise to alleviate pressure from the neck, because imagine how the cervical spine is going one way and the thoracic spine is going into a different way. And that's kind of really, you know, mobilizing those vertebrae that could be stuck. It's really engaging the muscles that are potentially weak and have weakened over time. So overall, these 4 exercises can be a really good rehab routine for those of you who have struggled with neck pain or are struggling with neck pain. And I think if you start doing them on a regular basis, you're gonna get a lot of benefit from them. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more exercises and anatomy content. If there is anything specific that you would like me to cover on this channel, please let me know in the comments below this video. See you in the next one.